Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rebuild It. I just got back from Body Man Mike's, who had the Porsche hood finished, all the body work done and the priming done on it, and I told him just to stop there and I'm going to do the paint when I do the rest of it in the booth. So let's take a look and see what he looks like. Okay, so there it is. Of course you can't tell anything when it's in primer. There's no shine at all on it, of course, but he said it was bad. He says super wavy and just took a lot of body work, a lot of time. So I need to still block sand this one and block sand the fender to 400, and then we'll just wet sand all of it at the same time. We've got the trunk lid, the frunk lid, this right here, and the fender. Alright, so I've got this sanded down to 400 dry, and Mike did a great job. It's totally flat. This little thing right here is the hole for the, gotta poke that piece back out for the where the emblem goes. But yeah, it is definitely nice and slick. So got a little more to sand right there. That's mostly done. We'll do the fender, and then we'll start wet sanding after I do the mowing again. Every time I turn around, it's more mowing. I got all that down there and all on the other side of the pond, so could be a while. All right guys, so finally this little item that I ordered is here, which is the reason I've been putting off painting on the Porsche for a while, because I wanted to do it with this new tool. It's an Apollo turbo sprayer. Ooh. So it's a turbine unit that uses no air at all, so we don't have to have an air compressor going. We don't have to have any kind of filterization. There's no way that anything can get the lines contaminated, so you can just hook it up and start spraying without worrying about water and oil and all that stuff. So let's open this thing up and see exactly what's in here and how this thing works. All right, so here we have the new sprayer. Had to kind of figure it out a little bit. These are quite different than the traditional air compressor sprayers. They're HVLP, which stands for high volume, low pressure, and it works off a turbine. This is a 5-stage turbine unit, so there's 5 turbines in there. The hose, as you can tell, is way different than a regular air hose. It's a lot thicker. At the end, they give you a real flexible hose that's where you can move around in tight spots and stuff. And the tips, the ends where you connect, are a lot bigger and easier to snap on. I guess because it's low pressure. This one does have a pressure control gauge, so you can set. A lot of them don't. The higher end ones do. This one was probably a $1,300 to $1,400 unit. You have to have a specific gun that goes with them that works off of these turbine units because they're pressurized. So when you hook the air to it, it actually pressurizes this canister. And I ordered the tips to go with, this is a 0.8, which is recommended for automotive finishes. So we'll see when we get it going if it's too, you got a lot of adjustment with your 2 adjustment knobs here and your pressure adjustment. So this is going to take a lot of playing with it. There's supposed to be quite a big margin of learning on this thing, so it's going to take a while to get it to where it's a nice smooth spray. But I say the next thing we do is get a test board in here with some blank paper on it, and we'll spray some sealer on there and see what kind of a spray pattern we can get. All right, so I've got the fans going, so I'm going to speak up a little bit in here because it's kind of loud, but I got a blank piece of paper up there so we can try to test our spray pattern. And I've also got a hole cut inside the paint booth. My hose coming in, I've got the unit out here so that it can not worry about getting any kind of overspray in the filters. So every time we shoot it and do a test pattern on that paper in there, we're going to have to come back out and adjust that pressure control right there to try to get the most atomization. So when we spray it, we're going to shoot like a elliptical pattern here, and it's going to have like overspray around the outside edges of it. And we got to keep on doing that and adjusting the pressure until we get like no blobs on the outside. It just needs to be real fine mist around the outside edge. So let's see how this works. All right, so I've got my spray gun here filled up with the sealer that I'm going to use, and I've got this this adjusts your how much flow goes out. It also adjusts the amount of trigger pull you got. So I've got it all the way in and out 2 turns that they recommend on this one. Usually it's all the way out, but in this little thing right here adjusts your fan spray. So like all the way up to where it says negative here would be just like a little dot, and then all the way out would be a long elliptical thing. So we'll just put it in the middle and see what it does. Okay, so I've got the machine set to about a 3. Let's see what it does here. Okay, now it's about a 5. Okay, so it's shooting a dot. So let's get our fan all the way out. Okay. It's pretty blobby around the outside edge, so better turn up the pressure a little bit. Well, it looks pretty smooth. Well, now that I've got the testing done on the Dodge Caravan bumper, I've got the first Porsche parts in the paint room. So everything is washed and clean. I'm gonna go ahead and go over them again with wax and grease remover. And I think I've got everything taped up that needs to be taped up. This one, nothing needs to be. I'll just spray it everywhere. This one, we just had to tape up the little guard for the exhaust down there. And this, I went ahead and taped around the edge so I don't get overspray underneath the trunk lid. And then we've also got the fuel door and this little cap that goes on the front bumper, and those 2 plugs that go on the front bumper. Spray all that. Let's go ahead and get some wax and grease remover and start wiping all this down. Let it dry, and then we'll actually start shooting our first black, or actually our sealer. We got all this different colors and stuff, so I'll just make sure we get the same coat of everything on them so that's all uniform underneath the black. So we'll do sealer first. Alright, so I've got our sealer on. Man, that stuff lays down. That sealer is so thin, it just lays down like flat, flat, flat. You can't see anything. Any kind of bump or hump or anything. So it's almost like your eyes won't focus, it's so flat. Okay, so this stuff is set 15 minutes, so it is ready for the black. So we'll shoot a black on there, and I think we'll do 2 to 3 coats of black, depending on how it covers. And then we'll have about 5 minutes between each coat, and then we start to clear. Alright, so I've got my 3 coats of color on here, and I got it kind of thick, so I wanted to make sure I let it flash for a good long time. And so I'm back now, and I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to put the clear on it. So I'll get a tack cloth and tack it really quick, make sure there's nothing settled on there while I was away. And then we will start shooting clear. So that's always the big test. And the things I learned on doing the Dodge Caravan bumper with this new paint sprayer is I gotta make sure I got good light, which I added some light in here earlier and that helped a lot. But I'm gonna take it a lot slower on the first coat. I'm just gonna give me like a tack coat, not worry about getting good, smooth finish, but just make it good and sticky. And then we'll let it flash the right amount of time. And the second coat will come in and make a nice thick coat and we'll go across it really slow with the gun. And I know for sure that at least on the trunk lid, probably all of it, I'll probably do a third coat, but this one for sure we want to be able to sand it a lot when we're done with like 2000 grit, so we get a super slick finish, and because it's going to be right in the sun all the time. So I'm sure we'll do 3 coats on all of this, but let's get started. Okay, I've got 1 coat on there, the clear, and it looks pretty good first glance. So I'm gonna let it flash off, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 more good coats. This next one will be nice and smooth and thick, I hope. And I'm not gonna video that because it just looks like the same thing over and over again, and I'll show it to you when I get the 3rd coat on. All right, so I've got all 3 coats on. And those of you that have watched our channel for a while know that I don't like painting. I'm not good at painting, and my new sprayer has not improved my abilities at all. There are parts of this that look pretty good, but I've got too much paint or too much clear coat on this last coat, and I've got runs everywhere. See that? I got a big old run all the way across there and one down there too. Got 2 big sags right here. One there and there, and the rest of that looks pretty good. I don't have any on this because it was all horizontal. It looks good. You see a bug on it, of course. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of sanding to get the runs out, and hopefully I don't go too deep and then have to end up re-clearing them again like I usually do. But anyway, it's not the sprayer's fault. It's just me learning stuff. So I'd like to be a better painter. It's just that it's going to take lots of trial and error. So,
hey guys, it's time to pick a winner for the t-shirt contest that Dad mentioned in last week's video. All you had to do to be entered in to win was just comment "Coop" down in the comment section down below. So we're going to head over to our random comment picker and hit generate. And the winner of this week's t-shirt contest is Eugene Postoev. Sorry if I butchered your last name. But they said, "This Coop is a rare car. She was lucky that she fell into your hands. I will watch the process. Good luck. P.S. I have a 2007 Pontiac Solstice GXP. Awesome. Thanks so much for watching our videos. We appreciate it. Just send us an email with your contact info. We'll get you a t-shirt sent out. Thanks.
Everything's dried overnight. So you can see here's my runs I was talking about last night. And as we can look around the rest of this thing, I don't see any other issues on this fender. And the trunk lid is really slick. So we'll sand it down, just get a little bit, like little dust nibs. Every once in a while, we'll get rid of all that out of there. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try the razor blade method to get these out, since there's only 2 on this fender, and see how it works. I've got a razor blade and I put tape on both sides, on both corners, so that the corners won't dig in if I accidentally mess up. And I want to just try to push the fat part of that run off without digging in. Okay, so then I'm going to start scraping. Okay, so the only low spot I got is that little bitty spot right there and a little one right there, so that's ready for sandpaper. I don't think there's any other runs around it. So now I've got this one up here, and I got a little sag down here. So let's work on this one up there a little bit. All right, so I think I've got all these out. So now I'm going to get some, probably 800 grit maybe, and sand this and see how fast this. There's not much orange peel on this, but a little bit. I don't want to get crazy so that I got to do sand just tons, but I need to get all these little scratches out. So. All right, so you can see what I'm doing here with the 800 grit. I'm sanding down, all this orange peel. Once it gets flat like this, then once you buff it out, I mean, it's perfect. So you want all this flat like that, but the problem is right here is sand through. So sand through the clear coat. So that means I got to do sand the rest of this with 800 and re-clear it. All right, so I've got this fender all sanded down to 800 and ready to shoot clear again on it. Now I'm going to go get the trunk and bring it out here, and because I've had enough disappointment for one night, at least I'm going to sand something that I don't think I'll get sand through on and get it ready for buffing. Man, this thing is really slick, but I'll sand it with some, I'll probably start with 1000 on this. It's already so slick, and then we'll do 2000 before we buff it. All right, there it is, all sanded down. I ended up going back down to 800 grit just to make the nibs come out faster. So that's all sanded to 800s, and now I will skip up to. Okay guys, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a test here. This is our trunk lid to the Porsche. I've got it sanded down to 1500. And what I've got here is the 3M white compounding pad and the 3M white the actual compound. So it says that it is designed to remove 1200 and finer scratches. And so I've got this sanded to 1500. Normally I've always sanded them to 2000, maybe even 3000 before I try to use a buffer on them. But I'm gonna try this out, see if that will eliminate a couple sanding grits. All right, so I was pretty impressed with the 3M buffer. I mean, it took those 1500 grit scratches out, but then I realized as I was buffing that I have still got quite a bit of orange peel on there, if you can tell it or not, especially like right in there. See that? I went back and got a 1500 grit dry with just a block and sanded on it. You can still see how the texture is on there, so I need to do some more sanding before I buff anymore. I'm just going to waste my time and end up with a bunch of orange peel. So we'll do some sanding, do some 15 and maybe 2000, I don't know, and then we'll buff again. Okay, so it's our second attempt at painting, the second paint day. You guys remember we painted this fender first on the first try, had the runs that we got right down here, and ended up sanding through a little bit right there, the clear coat. So we're going to go ahead and repaint this. All I have to do is just hit the spots, like the sand through spots, with black, just a little bit, real light right there. And there's a couple, like a spot right here, I think, and right here on this corner, and the rest is just going to be clear coat. So, and then here we have the hood. It's all prepped and ready, sanded. So I'm going to hit it first with the sealer, since that's just primer on there. So we'll seal it first, and then the second round I come in we'll hit the black and the spots on this, and then we'll hit that entire thing with black, and then we'll let it get a really good amount of time to flash off, and then we'll try the clear again. Also, I have the top of the spoiler right here, and then the little front surround that goes on the front of the bumper. Alright, so we've got the sealer on the hood. Now it's time to shoot black, and it's taking a long time for stuff to dry because it's cold outside and it's rainy, and so it's just humidity's in the air, so it's going to take longer between going from paint to paint, so let's keep going. Alright, so it's been a few minutes since the last coats, final coats, and this is when I usually go in and see runs, if there is one. So, let's see. Last time we had one, get a light turned over here. We had some down here. I do not see any there. That would be where you'd have them. I do see orange peel, which will have to sand out, but so far so good. The hood. I was worried I was getting it too thick on these areas that curve in like this. I was hoping we didn't have like a pool, like it ran down into those low areas. But I do not see any runs. Thank you, Lord. Alright, so got sanding to do. Hopefully nothing starts running as it's drying, but I think it's past the run stage now, so we'll give it a few more minutes and pull this tape off and let it cure overnight. Alright, so I sanded to 3000 now. You can kind of look at that light. I mean, this is just sanded. There's not any kind of buffing or anything. But look at that light reflection in there. I don't see any kind of orange peel. So next thing to do is buff it out. Okay, so that's what it looks like after the first buff with the white pad and the first compounding stuff right here. So now we'll go to the black pad and we'll use this stuff. So that's after the second stage. Yes, that is the hood. That's not me. So it really has a good reflection. And that's just the second stage, so we'll probably wait and do the third stage, like the swirl remover, after we get everything assembled on the car. I think that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Rebuild It as we continued on with the paint process. As we've talked about before, it's a long process of lots of different stages, and I'll try to get some more of these panels done before the next episode, so that they're already all buffed and ready. And then we'll start getting some other stuff in there to start painting. So if you did enjoy it this week, please give us a thumbs up and like and subscribe and turn your post notifications on. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
And always remember, don't retire it if you can rebuild it. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.